They told me to move from a seat I paid for, and 5 minutes later, the entire flight crew was out of a job. As I sat there surrounded by the gray haze of a New York morning at JFK, the cacophony of travelers faded into the background. I was the unassuming CEO of Vivax Industries, a title that, until that moment, shielded me from the chaos of corporate drama. But that day shattered my calm. I had a confirmed boarding pass, but the passenger beside me, a man named Bradford, sanguinely insisted I was in his seat. The flight attendant, colleague in ignorance, tacitly supported him. I felt the tension ripple through the cabin as eyes turned toward us, a reflection of society's ongoing struggles with authority and privilege, as if a microcosm of deeper issues was unfolding in the cramped space. "Just show me the seating policy," I requested, maintaining my composure. The arrival of Purser Carla heralded escalating pressure. She tried to persuade me to vacate my legitimate spot. "You can either move or leave," Captain Stokes added, applying the authoritative weight of the airline's hierarchy. I chose to deplane, my dignity intact. As I exited, a whisper of revelation tailed my departure. I was their CEO. Contacting my chairwoman, we grounded the flight, a ripple effect of consequence cascading through the airline. Carla was suspended, and Captain Stokes retired, a stark reminder of the shifts to come. A department dedicated to passenger dignity was born from this ordeal, and my anonymity as a passenger became a renewed source of joy amidst a cultural renaissance within our airline. And I received a letter from Bradford, a testament to his change of heart and a reflection on entitlement. It reminded me that standing firm not only shapes our narrative, but can inspire growth in others. "Excuse me, sir, that's my seat," Bradford sneered, arms crossed as he blocked the aisle. "I'm sorry, but I'm in 1A, and that's my boarding pass." The narrator's voice was steady, an oasis of calm amid the mounting tension on the packed flight. Bradford leaned closer, smirking. "Maybe your ticket got thrown out with the trash, Chief." He gestured dismissively, and the other passengers shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between the two men. Slaughtered, that flight attendant, Carla, materialized, looking flustered. "Sir, can you just, cooperate and move? It'll make things easier." Her tone held an unspoken judgment, tilting the balance of authority, an unwarranted power dynamic. "I will not move without just cause," the narrator replied, holding his ground. "I paid for this seat." Sweat beaded at Carla's brow as the murmurs grew louder around them. Misplaced energy crackled with unease, and a fellow passenger leaned in, whispering, "You should just let it go." "No," he countered, heart pounding. "That's the issue. I won't be pushed around." His gaze met Alyssa's, the third crew member, who had just arrived and looked torn. Please, just explain this to her," he urged. But Carla shot her down coldly, a dismissive wave of her hand silencing any support. "Captain Stokes," he called out, determined. "I demand your presence, now." "Move or deplane," the captain said, voice blunt and curt. In that moment, the weight of authority pressed down, unraveling something deep within him. He straightened, the quiet strength radiating. "I choose to deplane." As he walked past the flabbergasted crew, his heart swelled with indignation before revealing his identity. "I'm the owner of this airline," he stated simply, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Already he was thinking ahead. He could almost taste the retribution simmering on the horizon. The gray New York morning at JFK felt like any other, punctuated by murmurs of impatience and the scuff of luggage wheels. As I settled into my seat, 1A, confidence accompanied me, a modest CEO of Vivax Industries who preferred to remain unnoticed. But today, that anonymity would soon be challenged. It began subtly, a gentle knock on the armrest. "You're in my seat," said Bradford, his tone heavy with entitlement. I flicked my gaze to the boarding pass, bracing myself for the inevitable confrontation. The flight attendant, initially supportive, floundered under Bradford's insistence, while I remained calm, affirming my rights without raising my voice. Tension rippled through the aisle, an unsettling mix of authority and resistance. When Purser Carla stepped in, her authority was palpable. The stakes raised, she urged me to move. I mirrored her calm but unwaveringly declared my refusal. Just then Alyssa, a younger crew member, stepped forward, trying to validate my claim but was brushed aside. Frustration threatened to boil over. I could sense the unease from the surrounding passengers, their eyes darting between us like a courtroom audience. "Call the captain," I insisted, feeling the weight of my words. Captain Stokes arrived, presenting me with options shrouded in a veneer of authority, but I felt the undercurrent of prejudice flowing between us. "I choose to deplane," I stated firmly, liberating myself from the cycle of disrespect. As I exited the plane, the irony struck me. I was the owner of this airline. The reactions of the shocked crew and passengers pierced through the haze of my quiet suffering, ushering me into a new reality where my silence had turned into revelation. "Excuse me, but this is my seat," Bradford said, a smirk playing on his lips. "I don't think so," I replied evenly, holding my boarding pass with a steadiness I hadn't expected to muster. "This is 1A, my seat." The flight attendant, wary with a hint of uncertainty, glanced at me but nodded toward Bradford, suggesting I move. "I'd need a reason to vacate a seat I've rightfully paid for," I asserted, feeling a charge of adrenaline. "Can you please comply?" Purser Carla chimed in, her tone dripping with authority. "No," I said firmly, my voice unwavering. "I won't be removed without just cause." The murmurs from other passengers intensified, a silent revolt brewing in their eyes. It was as if they felt the shift with me, their breaths collectively held. "As per the airline policy," she began, but I interrupted. "Where's the captain? I'd like to discuss this matter directly with him." A ripple of surprise passed over the faces around me, and my heart raced. This would mean pushing into new territory, a line I hadn't crossed before. Carla opened her mouth to protest, but I held up my hand. "No more discussion. I want him here." Captain Stokes approached, exuding authority. "You can either move or leave." "I choose to deplane," I said, the words flowing out like a declaration of independence. As I stepped off, I texted Nan, my chairwoman. "We need to ground this flight." Grounded. The reality simmered as I walked away from the unfolding chaos. A small victory, but it was enough to signal that change had arrived, and I felt power rekindling within. The hushed cabin of the aircraft was suddenly charged with tension. The narrator, seated uncomfortably in first class, watched as the flight attendant, Carla, turned abruptly to confront him. "Sir, there's been a mistake. That's actually his seat." She indicated toward Bradford, who smirked with a sense of entitlement. Gonist held his ground, his voice steady against the snickers of nearby passengers. "I've paid for this seat. Show me the boarding pass if you believe otherwise." His calm certainty cut through the growing murmur of disbelief. Carla faltered, stammering for justification, while the tightening grip on the armrest reflected his simmering indignation. The tension escalated as Alyssa, a junior crew member, valiantly attempted to defend him. But as Carla silenced her, the air thickened with an uncomfortable silence, a mirror to unspoken biases. The narrator could feel the weight of collective gazes, silently pleading for justice. When Captain Stokes arrived, the atmosphere shifted. He placed a heavy hand on the shoulder of the narrator, offering two choices: surrender his seat or leave the aircraft. The narrator stood up, unyielding. "I choose to deplane." His resolution reverberated in the cabin, the power dynamics subtly shifting. As he stepped off, he revealed his identity as the owner of the airline. The flustered faces of the crew melted into confusion. The captain's face paled, realizing the grave error. The hum of chatter started anew, tinged with guilty whispers, as the narrator called Nan, leading to the entire flight being grounded. Days later, the repercussions were tangible. Carla's suspension echoed like a silent judgment, while Stokes retired under scrutiny. A new department emerged, emphasizing respect and dignity, heralding an unseen cultural shift within the airline. Yet it was a letter from Bradford that lingered in the narrator's mind, a heartfelt apology wrapped in newfound humility. The justice didn't require grandiosity, only the quiet satisfaction of truth triumphing over entitlement. He felt a sense of peace, knowing that both he and the airline would be better for it. As he noticed a young boy gazing at him, eyes wide with admiration, he smiled. A silent look passed between them, an understanding that sometimes standing up means inviting change, not only for oneself, but for everyone around. As I sit here, reflecting on that gray New York morning, I realize how far that moment pushed me, beyond the realm of mere indignation into a profound understanding of dignity. Being asked to leave my seat felt like an affront, a challenge not just to my position as the CEO of Vivax Industries, but to my very humanity. I held my ground, not just for myself, but for anyone who has faced unjust treatment. In the aftermath, all the chaos that erupted led to necessary transformations, both within the airline and within myself. I was met with consequences, some harsh, some redemptive. The experience taught me about the complexities of power dynamics and the subtle biases we carry, hidden yet palpable in our everyday lives. Now I invite you to ponder. A question lingers. Do you think I went too far? What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Let's engage in a dialogue about justice and dignity for all.